Don't think of America as a country. Think of it as a corporation. The government, military, and even American media are designed for one purpose: creating capital, making money. And what's the best way to make money? Creating new markets, and even better, make these new markets depend on you. Giant American corporations, in alliance with big banks and lending institutions, work together to create new markets in order to bring entire countries under their control. Now, this is a process, but this corporation, better known as the American Empire, has many tools at its disposal. These include, but are not limited to, imposing neoliberal economic policies, sanctions, coup d'etats, military interventions, proxy wars, invasions, and occupation. The IMF and World Bank are such instruments that are used to open new markets and make these markets attractive for American corporate empire. The IMF and World Bank pose as lenders wanting to help developing countries build infrastructure and pay off foreign debt. But in reality, these vampire institutions lend money that demand neoliberal restructuring of the economy that erases labor unions, workers' rights, environmental protection rules, and then the public utilities are sold to private American corporations. These financial sector, higher education, energy, transportation, water, manufacturing no longer are even owned by the country. These necessary utilities are owned by American corporations, and as such, they can pay lower wages, outlaw organized labor, not have to follow standards to protect workers, health, or the environment. They exist as an unregulated group of American corporations squeezing every drop of blood they can from a country that they care nothing about. The IMF tried to impose its policy, its predatory economic policies on Yemen. Yemen said no. Now the American empire is using Saudi Arabia as a partner in destroying Yemen in a bitter civil war. Bolivia also said no to the IMF. The American CIA helped stage a coup that installed a pro-American leader. And now we come to Ukraine. The IMF in 2013 offered Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych money for a financially struggling Ukraine, but with all the conditions that would make Ukraine a U.S. corporate colony. Yanukovych resisted and instead turned to Russia for financial assistance. In addition to attaining new markets, the American corporate empire simultaneously blocks other countries from extending their influence. Russia could not be allowed to keep Ukraine in its sphere. The CIA orchestrated a coup in Kiev in 2014, kicking out Yanukovych and spiraling Ukraine into a civil war. A pro-Western government was established. Now, amid an escalating war, Vladimir Zelensky has already made deals with the IMF, American corporation giants Goldman Sachs, Morgan Chase, and BlackRock, which in essence not only sells Ukraine, but its working citizens to American empire. 50 years ago, when the US was fighting the Vietnam War, the narrative used to gather support for America's invasion of Vietnam was, we are promoting democracy and helping the Vietnamese people. If you said otherwise, you were called unpatriotic, a traitor. Now it is common knowledge this war was a war to fight communism, a proxy war with Russia. The US openly admits it now. No one believes America fought this war because it cared about the Vietnamese people. And eventually, history will expose the truth about this conflict between Ukraine and Russia. It was started by American corporate empire to create a new market in Ukraine whilst blocking Russian influence over its former territory. If American empire gets its way, the people of Ukraine will become nothing more than serfs, working for an American corporation that owns all the utilities, all the resources in a country formerly known as Ukraine. Now, if you're one of those people that boldly exclaims, I stand for Ukraine, do you really stand for Ukraine and its people? If so, you would not support American and NATO weapons pouring into Ukraine, bombing the people of Donbass. You would not support Zelensky and the agreement he made with American corporate empire to sell Ukraine's resources and its people. You would not support the loss of freedoms imposed by Zelensky and his fascist government, the banning of religions, opposition political parties jailed, media outlets critical of the government shut down, labor unions made illegal, speaking the Russian language now a crime. Just for reference, these measures are exactly restrictions imposed by the Nazi Party in 1933 when Hitler took control of Germany. So do you support the puppet government of Ukraine intent on selling Ukraine to American corporations at the expense of freedom? Or do you actually support the Ukrainian people who want peace with their brothers in Donbass and Russia?